Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston, this is Station. We're ready.
Rancho Verde Elementary School, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call Station for a voice check.
Station, this is Rancho Verde Elementary School. How do you hear me?
Rancho Verde Elementary School, welcome aboard the International Space Station. We have you loud and clear.
Good morning, Station. My name is Mr. Cranston, and I would like to introduce you to our 700 students that range from transitional kindergarten to 6th grade here in Apple Valley. They are very excited for this opportunity. And now we will have our first question.
Hi, my name is Mauricio Escobedo, and I am in the 5th grade. On Earth, plants adapt and evolve to their environment in order to meet their needs. What adaptation, if any, have you noticed from the plants that you have grown in space?
That is a terrific question. You know, my crewmate and I, Jessica, actually had the opportunity to participate in an experiment called Veggie, where we actually were growing plants in space. And so that's something that NASA is very curious about and we're looking at. And what we're finding is that if we can give all of the things that we need for plants to grow, temperature, light, food, and water, and air, plants will do very well. But none of those things naturally occur in space, and so we have to provide all that. And so the plants use the atmosphere that we breathe. We provide artificial light. Well, we provide water to them daily using a syringe. And so this experiment has gone on a number of times, and at the end of the experiment we actually got to eat the plant that we grew. Now, I wanted to add on to this question and say, when I was about your age, I heard you say you were in 5th grade. When I was in 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, I lived not far from Apple Valley. I went to elementary school at what was then George Air Force Base Elementary School in the Adelanto School District, and I know its namesake lives on today. I eventually then spent a year at Hook Junior High School as well, and I understand that my 5th grade teacher, Mr. Seenerson, was even able to join you today. So welcome, Mr. Seenerson. Thank you for being there. Wonderful memories of a terrific teacher that was profoundly influential on me. So thank you for being there. It means a lot to me.
Hi, my name is Zuleika Jimenez Serna, and I am in the 2nd grade. Where the Artemis missions allow NASA to build buildings and machines which allow people to live on the moon for long periods of time on the moon, like in the movie The Martian.
Well, as you know, with NASA's Artemis program, we are planning right now and building the spacecraft and rockets that will bring us back to the moon and then eventually on to Mars. And we're hoping to get back to the moon really soon in the late 2020s. We'll be doing that in a sustainable way, which means we will be going there to stay. So like you asked in your question, will you be building things? We will be building this permanent presence there. And what exactly that is going to look like, we will be building upon and using elements from both commercial and other private entities to help us develop that presence on the moon to stay and eventually to transition onto Mars. I don't think it'll look exactly like it did on the movie The Martian, but since we'll be going there to stay, we will have some kind of permanent structures, we'll have rovers, we'll have all of these elements involved that will help us explore the moon and Mars.
Hi, my name is Malachi Rodriguez, and I am in the 5th grade. Have you made a mistake in space? If so, how did it affect you or the crew? What were you able to learn from your mistake?
Yes, the answer is that we all make mistakes. Astronauts make mistakes. Sometimes we're not always great about admitting them, but we do make mistakes. And in fact, I was going to tell you about a time that I was operating this airlock here that we used to payloads in and outside of the space station. And there's a valve control box on there, and I wasn't reading very carefully, and at one point I moved a valve that I wasn't supposed to. And while the ground was able to recover what I did, it took several minutes, and it was a reminder to me that up here in space, the consequences of what we do is so great. We have to be so careful at all times to read carefully, to be very attentive to details, and to be very in tune with our level of fatigue and whether we're alert enough to be doing the dangerous operations that we're doing on a daily basis. So absolutely, we make mistakes and we learn from them.
Hi, my name is Kylie Zippke, and I am in the 5th grade. Do germs spread out the same way as they do on Earth, or does microgravity affect them?
That's a great question, and my background is actually in biology, so I find that very interesting as well. The answer is, of course, we have a lot of microorganisms up here in space with us, just like you do on the ground, because we carry them with us on our bodies. The difference here in space is that we are living in this closed system, so we're really not adding anything to it aside from what we brought with us, or aside what might come up on a visiting spacecraft, a resupply vehicle, that kind of thing. So we're very careful when we prepare these visiting vehicles that send things up to make sure that we prepare them in a sterile environment and that we don't continue to contaminate things. This is something that we're going to be very careful about when we do go back to the moon and explore other planets, because we don't want to contaminate them for two different reasons. One, just in order to preserve that planetary body in its original manner, but also if we're trying to study and understand more about these places and what microorganisms might be there, if we come loaded and then contaminate it with our own, we won't be able to differentiate whether we brought that as ourselves or if it's actually native to this. The good thing is, up here on the space station, everything is really relatively harmless, and we do spend a lot of time measuring these things just to make sure that we keep things safe for us living up here all the time. We do many different biological tests to monitor the different microbes on station just to make sure that they are still in check.
Hi, my name is Natalie Linder, and I am in 1st grade. What new technology can we hope to gain from putting people on Mars?
Well, 50 years ago when we took the journey to go to the moon, that caused a small revolution in technology that NASA developed in order to get us to the moon. And many of those things that we see today that we take for granted, developments in wireless technology, developments in solar power, even the way that we provide food and water to astronauts, how we purify the water that we drink, how we prepare our food, how we were able to scrub their air, keep the air clean for them. In the same way, when we undertake this journey as part of the Artemis program to return to the moon and then continue on to Mars, it's going to catalyze all sorts of new technology development that will inevitably have spin-offs that will extend into daily life, improving life for all of you and all of us on Earth.
Hi, my name is Adriana Sanchez, and I'm in the 4th grade. What did you do when you were an aquanaut, and do you miss being underwater?
I was lucky enough to serve as an aquanaut on an underwater mission before I was even an astronaut, and that was when I was working at NASA as a scientist, supporting life science experiments like the ones that Drew and I are involved in up here now. As an aquanaut crew member, we were down there using it as an analog, so trying to understand more about what it's like to do missions and prepare for missions up in space by using an environment or a structure like that underwater, which has several elements in line with the space station. It's isolation, you need a life support system to go outside, and of course that's totally different there because it's water, but still, you can't go outside in the water and survive without this life support system for very long either. The other answer, I do miss being underwater. I love swimming. I love scuba diving. I love being in the ocean. And it's very different up here. You know, I think about those things. It would be wonderful to do them, but I guess I don't really miss anything up here. And I think it's because we're in this new environment. Floating around is actually a little bit like swimming. And so when we go outside in the spacesuits too, a little bit like the stuff that we do underwater when we train at NASA. So there are a lot of parallels up here, and it's a lot of fun to swim and to scuba dive. It's also a lot of fun to be floating around up here like we do every day.
Hi, my name is Damien Rubacabra, and I am in the 6th grade. You attended many schools. What made any of these schools great? And how did they prepare you to become an astronaut?
Well, you're right, I attended a lot of schools as a result of moving around as a kid, and they were all wonderful schools, and it taught me to be adaptable as I moved from school to school. Then I went to college at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, and that is where I made the decision to serve my country. From there, I went to medical school at the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences in Bethesda, Maryland, which is a medical school to create medical officers for service in the military. And that taught me to serve my patients. So throughout my career, my education has been focused on service to my country, service to my patients, service to humankind now as part of the space program.
Hi, my name is Angel Rios, and I am in the 6th grade. What kind of mental ramifications come with being in space for so long and not being able to see your friends and family for so long?
Yeah, of course there is a psychological impact when we're separated from our loved ones, from our families, from our friends, from our pets. And one of the things that we do at NASA is they have a very good support system for us. We actually have a conference every week with our family where we can do sort of like a FaceTime or Skype. We can do a video chat with them. We also have a way that we can call them otherwise throughout the week. So maintaining those connections is really important to our psychological well-being. NASA has done a lot of work studying these things that are important and different ways that we can maintain those connections because we know it is very important for our well-being.
Hi, my name is Carter Coleman, and I am in kindergarten. What do you what do you do for fun?
While
at the space station.
Well, first of all, it's just playing around in microgravity is a lot of fun. Check this out. But we also have musical instruments up here. We have cameras. I think Jessica has an example of a camera and a musical instrument here. One of the things we like to do in our free time is take pictures of the Earth, and look at the size of the lens on this camera. It's a big one. It's a 400 millimeter and allows us to take close-up photos. I actually tweeted out a photo today of the Victor Valley that I was using this exact lens here. So of your community there with a camera just like this out the window of the space station.
Hi, my name is Bradley Taylor, and I'm in kindergarten. Can you run faster on the moon or on the space station?
Well, the difference in running in those different environments really comes down to the gravity situation. So 1G on Earth. Up here, we have microgravity, or really no gravity pulling us down. And then on the moon, we have about 1/6 of the gravity. So what that means is that here on the space station, you can't really run. Here's what happens if you try to run when you're just standing. You're not going to be going anywhere because gravity's not pulling you down. But we actually do run as part of our exercise up here. In order to do that, we have a treadmill, just comparable to one that you might have on the Earth. But we need to have a way to pull ourselves down onto the treadmill, or otherwise we would just fly up all the time. So we actually wear a harness, and it then these attached bungees to pull us down onto the surface of the treadmill. And then we can run actually quite a bit faster. I can run quite a bit faster up here because I don't actually pull myself down to my full weight. It's a little bit uncomfortable with the harness that we wear if you do that. So I run at about 70% of my body weight, which means I can run faster up here than I can on Earth. On the moon, with only 1/6 gravity, I would be able to run probably faster. It would be a much different way of running, though. You'd probably be seeing some images of the Apollo astronauts kind of bounding along. But I think that I would probably be faster up there because you can cover a lot of ground with while expending less energy.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Gonzalez. I am in first grade. Do you have a defense system to protect the space station from asteroids?
Well, that's a real concern for us, of course, and the way that we deal with that is that we have the capability of tracking objects that are debris or space junk that is also orbiting here around the Earth. Anything larger than the size of about your fist or so. Things that are smaller than that are harder for us to track, and we do know that sometimes small objects like that strike the outside of the space station. Both Jessica and I have done several spacewalks, and when we're outside of the space station, we see evidence of small micrometeoroids that are probably teeny tiny, probably not much larger than the head of a pin, but we do see little nicks and burrs on the outside, the metallic surfaces of the space station that show us that there clearly are things out there that we're not detecting that do strike the space station. But luckily, we've built the space station strong enough that it protects us from anything coming inside the hull of the pressurized modules like where we're living. So we're well protected. NASA does a great job of designing our spacecraft to protect us and keep the astronauts safe.
Hi, my name is Kyle Ware, and I am in the 2nd grade. Are there any plants that are difficult to grow in space?
Well, we've actually grown quite a few different plants up here in space. We've grown onions, we've grown radishes, we've grown sunflowers, and Mizuna lettuce was the one that Drew mentioned earlier. That we've grown 7 different varieties of lettuce, but during our mission, we grew the lettuce and got to eat it at the end, which was really a treat. I was really excited about that because I love eating lettuce and salad on the ground, and it was very, very tasty up here and a really nice treat to have that fresh food since, of course, most of what we have is packaged and we have to rehydrate it. So it is difficult to grow plants up here because without gravity, there are some differences in terms of how the plants get water from their root systems, and then also how they can breathe, essentially, with the air around them. We don't have convection up here because unlike on Earth, hot air does not rise without gravity, so you have to have a good way of stimulating the airflow. The good thing is, because we have a lot of experience doing these experiments and research with these plants, we are pretty successful at growing them up here. So if we do monitor all these variables well, we've been very successful in growing healthy plants.
Hi, my name is Joseph Dumlau, and I am in the 3rd grade. Do you believe people will ever live on the moon or another planet?
Yes, I do, and I think that you will likely see this in your lifetime. We've talked about the Artemis program that's going to take us back to the moon here in the next decade, and you're going to see part of a feature of that's different than when we went to the moon 50 years ago is we're going to go back in a sustainable way, and we're going to go back for a continuous presence. And that means ultimately potentially on the surface of the moon. And then we're using this as a stepping stone to go further and go onward to Mars with the same sort of objectives and goals of eventually having a more permanent presence there on the surface of another planet. So these are things that you will see in your lifetime, and you should be very excited about that.
Hi, my name is Devani Espinosa, and I am in the 4th grade.
He was the next question. I'm Trinae Nelson, the superintendent of Apple Valley Unified School District, and we thank you, astronauts Jessica and Andrew, for your time this morning. Safe travels aboard the International Space Station. For Rancho Verde Elementary School, we're signing off.
Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful time speaking with you, and we're glad we got to answer some of your questions. Sorry for those that we didn't get to. Signing off.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes our event as we count down to 20 continuous years of humans living and working on an international space station. Thank you.
Thank you to all the participants from Rancho Verde Elementary. Station standby for comm reconfig for downlink messages.